Good morning. I hope you guys can see all this stuff. I really do. Let me see. It's the first time that we shoot live, and I'm doing this by myself, so I'm hoping that you guys can see all these things. Let me see if maybe I could see myself on Facebook. Oh, there I am. Okay. All right. I know that it's early and that most of you guys are probably still sleeping from a long week, but this is the best time that works for me. It's early in the morning because everybody's actually sleeping in my house, including the dogs. So let me clean my glasses so that I can see what I'm doing better. But anyway, today we're going to be talking about acid dives. I started with a range of just testing things back and forth and not deciding, not knowing what I was getting into. When I first started making flags, I really didn't have anybody to teach me. I didn't have anybody to guide me. In fact, when the Lord showed me flags, I have never seen flags being used in worship. I have never really seen the beautiful flow or just seeing people just basking in their worship through flagging. So it was completely new when he showed me the vision. So when I embarked in this journey, I had no idea what I was doing. So I hope that as I'm doing these tutorials every Saturday morning, that I am able to help your ministry, help you, your personal ministry, or maybe your corporate ministry, to learn how to make your own instruments of worship as led by the Lord. So this way you don't have to go through what I went through. I believe that we are one in Christ. I believe that we should be working and helping each other and encouraging each other for the purpose of the kingdom, helping our brothers and sisters to worship, to create these instruments, if that's what basically it, how can I say this? You know, that is basically what the Lord wants us to do, is to share our giftings, to share what he has given us with others, because it's not about us, it's about the kingdom. Amen. So I hope that by me coming together every Saturday and just teaching you a little bit about what I do, it will help you be able to create your own worship instruments, and at the same time help others. Don't keep it to yourself. We are blessed to bless others. So what you learn here, take it to your church. Take it to somebody that wants to learn. This is not a business. This is a ministry. Flagging and everything that I do comes with a purpose, and I just refuse to just dig a hole and put all my giftings and talents in there without allowing them to be used for the kingdom. Amen. So this is what we're doing today, and I'm going to lower this because I usually wake up in my meditation time and I put nature sounds. So I don't know if you can hear the water. We have birds before. Hold on a second. I don't know if you could hear the birds, but I'm going to lower the volume, if you will. Here. So pretty. Anyway, getting back to this. I have my iPad in here because I have my phone set up there with the up on the chair, if you will. So I really cannot touch it or read if you guys are making any comments. So, alrighty. So let us begin. So One of the things that, like I was telling you at the beginning of the video, is that I went through a series of testings and just checking out what was out there and not knowing what I was getting into. And I started using dye. I started buying it in Michael's and Joann's, the tulip dye that they sell, the tie dye. I started using that when I started dyeing silk. The colors weren't as vibrant. That type of dye is usually made for like cotton, and it's not really professional grade, although it's great to begin with. I'm not gonna lie to you, it's great to begin with. I just have one suggestion. If you do buy that dye, the red or the tulip, that you add a little bit of vinegar to the dye so that it's grasped on the silk. Either that, or put like 1/4 cup of vinegar into like a gallon of water, and or half a cup of vinegar, I think it will probably be better, into a half a gallon of water, and then you soak your silk in it. So this way, when the dye hits the silk, it will be able to adhere. So, so just know that if you go that route, which is inexpensive, and it's a nice way to start, because that's where I started. And sometimes Joann's and Michael's has a 40% off coupon, so it's really great for you to start experimenting with that type of dye. Once you feel comfortable with that, then you can move on to other things. So you could just jump the boat and start using what I use. There's many dyes out there, and the two most popular ones are, well, actually the most popular one is Proxium, which is a fiber reactive dye that not only works on silk, but it works on everything else. But I was led to acid dye, and that is all I use, for the exception of a couple of Proxium colors. Acid dye is for natural fibers, meaning like wool and silk. So anything that comes from an animal or insect, let's just say, then acid dye will be excellent for it. I also dye nylon with it. For some odd reason, it just picks up on nylon. So acid dye, I buy it, you could get it from Jacquard, and these colors are amazing. It's just that their color selection is very limited. And I also buy it from Dharma Trading Company, which they're very highly concentrated, and they really last a long time. I have never had to buy a big jar larger than 2 ounces. Everything that I have purchased has been 2 ounces from them. And Dharma acid dye is basically the same thing as Jacquard. I'm able to mix them. As long as they're both acid dyes, you're able to mix these colors together and make your own colors. And they dye together, they flow together beautifully in silk. So how do we use these dyes? Well, when I went into Dharma, I started going into Dharma Trading Company and watching their videos, their tutorial videos. I couldn't really how can I say this? Couldn't really identify with it, because most of the videos that they have, it's for how do I explain that? It's about when you really dunk the dye. The recipe that they had given you was for you to really dunk the silk into the dye versus you placing it on the dye. So I really had to really take in what they had to and translate it into into the dyeing that I do. Now, every artist is different. Every flag maker is different. Not everybody does things the way that I do, but this is the way that the Lord led me to do it. So this is the way that I'm going to show you how to do it. So after watching their videos and reading their recipes and how to dilute the dye and how to place it on the silk, and then the acid, the citric acid, which actually I use citric acid, is actually a substitute for vinegar because I do not like the smell of vinegar. And this actually is highly concentrated, so it's better, you know, when it comes to pricing. So what I came up with, or what the Lord showed me how to do, was that to take the dilution instructions of the acid powder. I don't know if you can see it. It's right here. And it comes like this. And I usually just put it in a mason jar. Take it into, translate it into a water that I mix with the dyes. So many people actually make the citric acid solution, and then they take the silk and they basically let it soak in the citric acid. I don't do that. What I actually do is I make the citric acid solution, and then with this solution I make my dyes. I know, a little bit of backwards, but that's how I do it. So once I do that, all I have to do with the silk is actually wet it, wash it. I usually use their detergent, Dharma detergent, wash their silk, then wring it out, and I work on wet silk, okay? So let us begin. I'm gonna show you exactly how to do it. So my recipe that I use is basically the ones that got translated into me for this purpose. Was for each cup of water, you're gonna use 1 teaspoon of citric acid. I cannot give you the measurements for vinegar because I really don't really use vinegar. So, and I wouldn't, and I will be afraid to give you an amount when I really don't know how it's gonna turn out. So let's keep it to this, okay? So I have 2 cups of water right here. And what I usually do is I keep a teaspoon in the jar. And it's 1 teaspoon per cup. So we have 2. So I'm gonna add 2 teaspoons of citric acid. And then you're gonna dissolve this. The water is hot, but not too hot. A little warmer than lukewarm. You just want it for it to be able to dissolve, because it is like a salt. I don't know if you can see it. Like a thick salt. So just keep shaking it. It's almost there. There it is. So once this is dissolved, I'll take a sip of my ginger coffee. Once this is dissolved, I use, depending on the dye job that I have to do, I use different sizes of bottles. The one that I use the most is actually the 8 ounce, but I never fill it up to the top. And this is why I love it, because I'm able to give it some room so that I can shake it up. So I fill up my bottles probably about 2/3 to half. Now, for this amount of water, I usually use 1/4 teaspoon of dye. But we're gonna do something different today. Let's see, what color should I get? Should start with. Let's do indigo. All right. So I use the 1/8 teaspoon measurement because it's just perfect for the opening of the bottle. Now these bottles you could get at Dharma, and they're really inexpensive. You're gonna find that I usually buy 1 bottle per color that I order, and they're very durable, and you could clean them and wash them and reuse them. This one is actually pretty new. So we'll start with 1/8 of a teaspoon, which is usually what I use per quarter of solution, quarter of a cup of solution. And I'm gonna be writing this down in the description later, okay? So because I don't want you to having to. Okay, so I put it inside. See, it just fits perfect inside the bottle. I'm gonna lay this aside, but I'm gonna cover it. Now these dyes are supposed to be used in an open area when you mix them, but for the purpose of the video, we're doing it here, okay? But it should be well ventilated. You should use a mask if you suffer from asthma or anything like that. So we're gonna mix this. God bless you, Brenda and Susana. ¿Cómo están? Okay, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take a piece of silk just so that I can show you, and I'm gonna get it wet. Once you mix it, this is it. This is it. This is why I love this. This is done and ready to use. Because the solution is warm, it dilutes the dye, and it's just perfect. So, something else I want to say. Don't throw out your old towels. Keep them with you. They come handy. Even though they look raggedy and all that stuff, just keep them. It's not for the look, it's for the convenience. It's okay. So, here we go. We have some silk. And this is what I want you to see. This is why we're doing it this way. Even though I put, it's 1/8 of a teaspoon per 4 ounces of water. And even though I have more than 4 ounces here, I'm gonna show you how this dye, you can make different shades. So if you start with 1/8 of a teaspoon for 2/3 of a cup, let's say, or 3/4 of a cup, you're gonna get a lighter shade. So I wet my silk. I work on wet silk. There's some artists that work on dry silk. I prefer to work on wet silk. So this is a 5 mummy, and it's just a scrap piece. As you can see, is shaped. It's what I cut off from the new flags that I have to post this week. All right. So let me stretch it out just so that we could give ourselves some little wiggling room. I have some freezer paper with the wax facing up so it doesn't absorb through my table. So, all right, so here it is. There's indigo. I don't know if you guys can see that. With 1/8 of a spoon in the recipe. Now we're gonna add more. And I probably should go get a little measuring cup with a little bit of water so that I could rinse my spoon because I'm making a mess. And this should not be happening. So let me just wet this here so that I could clean it up so I don't get it on my clothes. I'm supposed to be wearing gloves, but as you can see by my finger, I just hate gloves. I had a class with a group of kids from a church, from Pastora Brenda. Good morning, Jan. Good morning, Sandra. Hi, Jean. And I was telling them that I hate to wear gloves. And it just doesn't feel the same. My hands suffer the consequences, but that's okay. So I added another 1/8 teaspoon of dye. So let's look at the difference, okay? As you can see, it's a lot richer, it's a lot darker. But look at the difference. You could actually make a pair of flags with one dye and have different shades. It's just beautiful. It really is. And we could even make this a lot darker. You want to see? All right. So that's 1/4 teaspoon already, because we already put 2/8 of a teaspoon. And you know, silk doesn't need that much dye. So usually a bottle like this would last me a couple sets of flags. And depending how you use it. I'm gonna see if next Saturday I could, actually no, I'm not gonna be in town next Saturday to be able to do a dyeing tutorial. But I will be online, but it won't be for to dye. I won't be able to show you how I dye the silk, but I'll find something simple that I can show you next Saturday. But be in tune for the following Saturday, because I could probably show you exactly how I dye my silks. So we just added another 1/4 teaspoon to this dye. I'm sorry, 1/8 of a teaspoon. We've already put 1/4, 2/8 is 1/4. And we added another one, so. You ready to see? Let's put it right here. See that? Hi Tracy. Hey Sandra, how are you? So can you see the variation of color? Now this is indigo, which it means that while as it sits, it gets more like a light jean color. I love this color. Here are my gloves. As you see, I haven't put them on. I probably should, because I already got dye in here. But that's basically it. And see how little I use? It just doesn't take much. And I'm going to show you that now I really need to put on gloves, because I can't put my hands on that. But, let's see. You could take that dye that's in there and actually spread it. You got plenty of dye, so, see. Hi, Jaddy. And Tracy. Okay. And what would happen is, how you get that marble look. It's really cool. Many people ask me, what is that color that you're using? Or what is the name of that color? Sometimes, honestly, I'm going to be really honest with you guys. I just mix my own colors. So there isn't a name. There isn't a product, a color that you could go out there and buy. It's just something that I do, and I do it in the spur of the moment as the Lord guides me. So sometimes I don't even remember what I mixed, and sometimes I don't even remember how much. Even if I remember the colors that I mixed, I don't remember how much I put into it, and that color cannot be replicated. And that just goes in the process, in the creative process of just spending time with the Lord and communing with the Lord and just listening to his instructions for that specific flag or shawl. So I understand that sometimes you want the same color, but it's not going to come out the same, because that specific color sometimes is just for that person. And at that moment in time, the Lord says, mix this and mix that, and there it is. And I am just obedient to his word. I listen. I put in whatever amount he tells me to put in. And I just go with the flow. Sometimes I don't even know what color is going to come out. So just know that I'm really willing to help you, because to me, if I have helped you create instrument of worship, then I have done my part for the uplifting of the kingdom. So everything that we do should be geared towards the uplifting of the kingdom, the upbuilding, the encouraging the kingdom into going higher. So even though I want to give you that recipe, or if I want to share these things, sometimes it's not meant to be. And I just don't remember. I really do not remember. And sometimes I mix the colors right on the silk, one on top of the other, and I cannot achieve it again. So it's all in God's hands. For me, silk, it's all in his hands. He's in control on how the silk comes out. He's in control of everything. And even though he may show me colors and he may tell me which ones to use, I have no control on how the dye is going to lay on the silk. I do not dye my silk folded. There's a lot of artists that's how the Lord called them to do, to fold their silk and dye it. I have to have an open canvas, and maybe it's because of my background on painting, but I have to have an open canvas, meaning that my silk has to be spread out. Sometimes I use ties, sometimes I use stones, but it has to be, I have to be able to work into it and be able to blend the colors. And if I fold it, then I'm not able to do that. So this is the way that he uses, and I'm going into dyeing technique, but maybe it was meant to be. But just know that, going back to the color, that even though I would love to share that with you, sometimes it's just not meant to be. Now, if I do know it, then I will give it to you. Another dye, we just used the Dharma. Let's try the Jacquard so that you guys can see how it flows so similar and how it blends with this color. So what I'm going to do is, this is a, wait a minute, I think I'm confused. I think this is a 4-ounce small bottle. Let's do salmon, okay? I love this color. Now, let me go get a little bit of water so that I can rinse this. Of course, when you're transitioning into another color, please wash your spoon. You don't want to contaminate the other color by putting in darker shade of the color that you're using. So make sure that you dry it good. I'm using the same silk. Okay, here we go. As you can see, it's like a powder. Now Jacquards, they usually cost like $3-4 a little jar. They don't bring a lot, but their colors are amazing. It's just like I said before, it's just very limited amount of colors. You don't get that many. And there are some colors that Dharma does not offer. So like the salmon, this salmon is beautiful. It's almost like, it's got like an iridescence, like an orangey iridescence with pink. Now I just put 1/8 of a teaspoon. I left some room so that I can shake it. See, it's starting to. So once it mixes pretty quickly because this is warm, so I should put on the other glove. All right, what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna put it in this area. This color shifts as it dries. Now, I'm gonna put a little bit over the blue. See how it's very light? I'm not sure if you can see it. I'm sorry. Let's see. Can you see it? Yeah, there it goes. And you really cannot see the beauty of it until it's steamed. But let's add a little more. Let's see what takes place. That's another 1/8 of a teaspoon. Oops. Make sure that when you mix these, that the cap is on correctly, because you're gonna have dye all over you and all over the place, which I've done that before. Ooh, can you see the salmon now? Let's see. Let's use it over here. It's darker, and we could even go a tid darker, just so that you guys can see. Just play around with these dyes. And by the way, I use the bottles, but you don't have to if you just want to go ahead and start just by using plastic cups. When we do the workshops, I make these really large bottles of dye. And then what we do is we have the people just come with small plastic cups and we fill them up. And because you really don't need a lot to dye the silk, because the silk is so thin. Now you got to keep in mind that the 8 mammal weight is heavier, so therefore it will require more silk, more dye. Put the cap on. Let's see. I'm going to put it right here next to that one. This is going to be strong, but it's going to be beautiful. And it's almost like a red. I don't know if you could see it. But it's just beautiful. Just completely beautiful. And then if you look over here, see the color just shifted. And it's actually like a bronzy. Let's add a little bit of this on top of this blue, just so that you guys can see. It just turns it into a different shade. When you're dyeing your silk, you're using this, just keep in mind that when you are bringing 2 colors together, you can probably see it better there. Yeah. When you're bringing 2 colors together, it's going to make another color. It's just the way that it works. So if you're mixing blue with yellow, you're going to get a green. And I actually have some yellow here. Let me run. I'll be back. This is left over from Pastor Brenda's workshop a couple of weeks ago. We had so much fun. All right, so just so that I can show you, let's move this out of the way. Hope you guys can see this. Okay. I'm gonna spread it this way. And that's a highly concentrated dye, because usually for the workshops I put a lot of dye in it, so this way if the kids want to make a lighter shade of yellow or a lighter shade of any color whatsoever, they're just able to add more solution. So I take a bottle of the citric acid solution with me and we just dilute it right there. I don't know if you could see it, but see how it turns the blue into green? It's kind of cool right here in this area. So just keep that in mind. And again, I'm going into silk dyeing, but anyway, it's all good. I'm going to move this aside. Some of the things that you guys need to know about acid dye is that if you prepare it the way that I prepare it, the shelf life is really good, for the exception of certain colors that sometimes may get slimy. So, and I have learned which colors do that. So if I need that color in particular, I tend to make it the same day. One of them is a turquoise, the Dharma turquoise. It gets really, really slimy. It's actually kind of gross. So if I ever need that color, I will make it fresh that day. But otherwise, as you can see, this yellow, I made it for the workshop, and it's been like maybe 2-3 weeks. Not sure exactly how long it's been, but it's kept really good, and it hasn't gelled up or anything like that. So you could do it that way. You could actually make your colors ahead and just play with them. That's why I love the squirt bottles, because I am able to keep them in this. Another thing that I do to identify the colors, because as you can see, can you tell that this is salmon? By the looks of it, you really can't. And can you tell that this is indigo? No, you really can't. So what I do is I take scraps of silk. I have a piece of silk over here. And I thought I had my scissors. Oh, here we go. I take a piece of scrap of silk, and let me take this off. I hate gloves. All right. And I pretty much cut like a 12-inch strip. Oh, this is how you cut silk, by the way. You snip it and then you rip it. All right? Many people ask me that. How do you get straight lines? That's how you do it. That's how you cut silk. So you have this piece here, and what I usually do is I just make like a 2-inch strips, and then I rip them. Then I take this and I dye it. I have a mess in here, guys. I would take this and dye it and steam it in the microwave, because this dye does need to be steamed in the microwave. And once it's steamed, I tie it outside of the bottle, so this way I know that this is this color. And it also helps if you're teaching someone that this is the color that you will get. And it just helps me identify the colors as I'm working, and I don't have to go wondering what it is. Sometimes I write the name here if they're very similar, so this way I know which dye belongs to the bottle, so when I'm going to remix it. But that's basically about acid dyes. If you guys have any questions, feel free to comment. How I steam this, once I'm done, you could actually put it in a plastic bag, a freezer Ziploc bag, in the microwave for 3 minutes at a time. So it's 6 minutes, and you put it for 3 minutes. Then you open up the microwave, so you let the steam out. Then you close it again, and you put it for an additional 3 minutes. And then after that, you take it out of the bag and you wash it, and you have it. There you go. But I found that using plastic bags was a lot of money, especially when you're making as many flags as I do. So what I do is I use a Pyrex dish, which I actually have the one here from yesterday. It's like, what am I doing with all this? I'm trying to keep everything in one space. But anyway, I'm going to just stick this in the water, okay? Good morning. All right, let's see. Got God bless everybody. I hope this is helping you. So what I do is once I dye my silk, I put it in an old Pyrex dish, and I have some things here that I did yesterday. I was testing out some colors. I put it in my Pyrex dish, you know, still wet from here to here. Then I take saran wrap and I cover it. And this is just sloppy, just to show you. I cover it really good. I usually put like maybe, depending on how much silk I have in here, I usually put like one. If it's just a little bit, I'll put one thing of saran wrap. But if the silk is touching the saran wrap, I put 2 layers. And then what I do is I take a rubber band and I put it in here, but you really don't need to do that. And because the silk is wet, it's going to create its own steam. So you put it in the microwave and you put it for 6 minutes. Now you have to be careful when the microwave is done. You have to, this is going to be hot. It's going to be really hot. And you could remove it from here and then wash your silks. But that's how I save money. So if you have a Pyrex dish, feel free to use it. I mean, it's amazing. You will not be using, you know, wasting any money. It just takes a lot of bags for you to be using constantly, especially if you're doing a lot of silk on a daily basis. When we do workshops, we do take the Ziploc bags, and they do have to be the freezer Ziploc bags for the kids to use, or the women. Usually it has been, the workshops that I have done has usually been for children and women. So just go ahead and have fun. Just have fun. I will tell you more about Proxium dyes, but I really do not know much about it, if that makes any sense. I do have a couple colors that I still use with this technique. Jan, the steaming actually seals the silk, the dye into the silk. So what it does is it bonds it, if you will, with the silk, and it becomes one. So this way, when you wash it, it doesn't come off and the colors stay the same. So if I take this silk that I did yesterday and I steamed it, which these colors are beautiful. I don't know if you can see it. I mean, they're just gorgeous. And wash it, the color will not come off at all. You will not see no I'm sorry, I'm trying to put this away. I feel like one of those cooking shows, you know, when they start sticking all the pots underneath the counter. But anyway, you will not see no residue in the water. Maybe the first time and the second time, because, you know, sometimes the colors are deposited, the powder is deposited in there and it's released when you wash it. But other than that, you should not lose the vibrancy. One of the things that I love about acid dye is that it's specifically made for silk. Proxium is a fiber reactive dye, which is made for all ranges of fabric. So this is specifically for silk. And it just, you can make it as vibrant as you want or as soft as you want. It's just amazing. Any other questions? Seeing everybody in here. All right. Well, I hope this helps you. Like I said, it's pretty easy. Remember, 1 teaspoon of citric acid per cup of water. And this is very inexpensive. It's like $4.90, I think it is, something like that, in Dharma. And it lasts a very long time. Imagine 1 teaspoon at a time. So, and 1/8 of start with 1/8 of a teaspoon per 1/4 of a cup, and then just keep adding from there. And I guess that's it. Well, I pray this blesses you. I hope that this just ignites you to create some beautiful pieces. I will post some links to where you could get more information. Jacquard.com is actually a very nice place to go and look at their products and their dyes. The hand painting that I do, I also use their product for hand painting, but it's not the same, it's different. And I hope you have a blessed day. I really do. I thank you for joining me this morning, and what can I say? I'm praying for all of you. I pray that the Lord just takes you to a higher place in Him when you worship, when you just live for Him and just lift Him up. I know that He is with you always, and I know that you are never alone. I love you. I appreciate you. And until I see you soon, take care. Bye-bye. Oh, wait. How do you dry them? I usually, I don't use the dryer, although sometimes people do. I usually hang them dry to be a little bit moist, and then I iron them dry. So, and I actually wring them with a towel. The dryer, the clothes dryer, actually sits in the wrinkles, and because you are doing this in the microwave, you're steaming them like this, it actually causes wrinkles. So the steaming sets in the wrinkles. So by you washing it and putting it in the dryer, it's actually bringing back the wrinkles that were set in the microwave, if that makes sense. So what I do is I keep them moist, not too moist. I towel dry them, let them kind of shake them off, let them dry a little bit, and then I take my steaming iron and I steam them. That's how I dry mine. But you're able to do them air dry. You're able to put them in the dryer, whichever just way you feel. Try them all ways, but this is what works for me. Amen? All right. God bless you. I love you. Have a blessed weekend. Take care.